Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on Business 360. I'm Shriram Fin. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The sensex gains over 600 points. The Nifty reclaims 26,000 as the Lal Street begins the week on a positive note. The rupee weakens by nearly 40 paise against the dollar, moving close to the 90 mark. Gold and silver hit record highs as precious metals continue to see fund flows and global uncertainty. Platinum hits an 18-year high. Silver prices are up 137% this year. Gold up 67%. Shriram Finance Executive Vice Chairman Umesh Revankar speaks to CNBC-TV18 days after sealing India's largest FDI in the financial services sector. Says the deal with Japan's MUFG gives them a 100-year runway. He expects a 100 basis point reduction in the cost of funds in the next 2 years. Says talks with MUFG limited to a 20% stake sale as of now. Rules out any plans on applying for a bank license. India and New Zealand finalized a free trade agreement. 95% of the bilateral trade will be exempt from tariffs. Dairy kept out of the deal. This will be India's 7th trade agreement since 2021 as the government attempts to diversify its export markets amidst uncertainty over a US trade deal. The Supreme Court's decision to strike down electoral bonds fails to make a dent to political funding. BJP mops up more than 6,000 crore rupees with a 50% surge in funding before the Lok Sabha elections. Congress a distant second with over 500 crores. BJP gets more than 4 times the donations received by all opposition parties combined. The Tata Group emerges as the largest funder of political parties in FY25, donates 915 crore rupees with 88% of the funds going to the BJP. 7 large corporate houses like L&T, Megha Engineering, OP Jindal Group, Ashok Leyland, DLF and Mahindra account for more than half the contributions to all political parties. The union government dismisses ecological concerns over the new definition of the Aravalli Hills based on a 100-metre elevation threshold. The Environment Minister says the Supreme Court's order has been misinterpreted. Activists and farmers allege the new definition would proliferate mining and construction activities. The government says mining is allowed only in less than 2% of the Aravalli Hills. Bangladesh remains on the edge days after the killing of a popular youth leader, which triggered widespread violence and arson. India suspends operation at its visa application centre in Chittagong. The MEA says it has conveyed its strong concerns about the attacks on minorities after a Hindu man was lynched and his body set on fire over unverified allegations of blasphemy. Let's start with the market action and some Christmas cheer being seen on the Lal Street today. The stock markets opened the week on a positive note. Markets ended at the high point of the day. The Sensex and the Nifty finally closing about 600 points higher in the Sensex, 200 points higher on the Nifty. The mid-cap index putting on about 500 points. The Nifty Bank up by about 200 points today. So the market starting the week strong today. Surabhi standing by to wrap up the market action. A good start to the Christmas week, Surabhi.
Well, Christmas is finally making its presence felt on the street. At least that's how Monday started off, because what we had was a solid gap up thanks to some very, very positive global cues. Big rally across Wall Street and Asian stocks in particular. And then that gap up sustained through the day. And there was plenty of green. We've seen plenty of red, but it's Christmas, so there was some time for green as well, and we had that today. So the Nifty finally ended almost 1% higher. The mid-cap index was also up about 1%. And the best part, the broader market performed so well that the advance decline ratio was almost as good as 3 stocks advancing for every 1 that was declining. Now, it was also very broad-based moves in terms of the sectors that participated. The leaders of today's rally included names from the defense space. IT did very well right from the morning. Capital market plays and metal stocks to name a few. So let's see what this meant for the large cap space. First of all, Shriram Finance, no stopping the move on this stock with a gain of over 60%. It is the best performer on the Nifty, and now it has this big deal to boast of as well. So that stock led the gains. There was Trent. After a long time, we saw a 3% rally on Trent, so that looked good. Infosys, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, all the IT stocks between 2, 3 and 4%, looking very, very smart indeed. There was support coming in from some names like Bharti Airtel. Some auto names revved up today. Tata Motors, which has been actually one of the worst performing stocks of the year. But today it was looking much, much better. Maruti had some traction. Hindalco and JSW Steel from the metals pack shining bright. The underperformer in the market today actually was the banking side. The bank Nifty was up, but up only about 0.5%, little less than 0.5%. So the gainers included names like HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank. But on the flip side, you had an SBI and a Kotak Mahindra Bank acting as counterweights. Those 2 stocks had some red on the screen. Let's come to the broader market action now. Plenty of newsmakers here. GE, Vernova, T&D. They've got a very, very large HVDC order from the Adani Group. The market got very excited with that. Stock was up about, almost 10% in the first half of the session, actually. Others included MCX, with the SEBI chief saying that, SEBI is looking at the commodities market in a lot of detail, trying to sort of push through trading in agricultural commodities. So that stock was excited. KEC International saw a breather with the Delhi High Court staying the whole issue with Power Grid. So they can now go ahead and bid for Power Grid's business. And there was Varun Beverages, which has done an acquisition in South Africa. So these were the newsmakers of the day. Beyond news, look at the momentum in the defense part of the market, specifically shipbuilders. Mazagon Dock, Cochin Shipyard, Garden Reach gains between 5, 6, 7% on some of these stocks. That's not all. The PSU party continued with some metal names. Nalco and SAIL had a very good session, and even some railway names. RVNL, IRFC, Railtel, good volumes and good price action on many of these stocks. Beyond PSUs, Devyani International and Car Trade saw plenty of action as well. What we've had is a great start. You can argue that maybe participation is diminishing. And maybe that is one reason why at least the FPI selling has quietened down in the market. In fact, the last two sessions we had positive FPI flows come through. Whatever it is, for the time being, the bulls will take it with both hands as they keep hoping that we get a breakthrough on the trade deal that can carry this momentum further.
All right, so it'll be many thanks. Well, from the Lal Street now to the currency market action. The rupee weakened from its one-month high, ending the day at 89.65 to the dollar. The fall was mainly due to strong demand for dollars and increased hedging activity by Indian companies to protect against future currency moves. And in the commodity markets, oil prices rose on the back of reports that the U.S. has pursued a third oil tanker in international waters off the coast of Venezuela. Now, this has raised fresh concerns over supply uncertainty. Remember, President Trump has said that he would not rule out a war with Venezuela. He's already ordered the blockade of sanctioned oil tankers off the South American nation's coast after seizing a vessel just last week. But gold and silver prices touching new lifetime highs today, driven by safe haven demand on the back of global uncertainty that we just spoke of. Gold prices have risen nearly 70% since the start of the year, and silver has surged 140% in the same time. Manisha standing by. Manisha, we're almost wrapping up the year, and demand for commodities, gold, silver, even platinum, continues to be very strong.
Well, it does, Shireen, absolutely. I mean, I can safely say that 2025 belonged to metals when it comes to commodities. And today is a day that you're looking at all-time highs being created yet again in case of gold, in case of silver. Platinum is trading at a 17-year highs. Palladium is trading at a 3-year highs, and you have copper prices hitting record highs today yet again. So, well, the fund allocations, the interest that is there in commodities continues to be very, very strong. Well, that's exactly what we are doing in many of these commodities even today. The markets did believe that by the time it is second half of December, you will see fund allocation and interest perhaps get down. But that clearly is not the case. It looks like that the market wants to get into holidays with longs and plenty funds allocated for many of these safe haven tangible commodities as well. Platinum is trading at 2,080 right now, not too far away from its all-time highs. It's palladium, which has gained up by 104% in this year, but it still is far away from its all-time high. So markets are believing that you could be looking at further higher highs into the next year as well. Well, interestingly, there are various factors which have been supportive. It has been the ongoing debasement, trade, the global debt concerns that the markets have, strong underlying fundamentals in sense of deficit that we've seen in this year for many of these metals. Interest rates will continue to go down in the next year as well. There are fiscal concerns as well, broader economic unrest that the markets are also looking at. And add to that the geopolitics as well. You talked about brewing US-Venezuela conflict. There is renewed hostilities between Iran and Israel as well. That has been supportive. And for metals like silver, platinum, palladium, it also is about a deficit that we've seen in this year, which very well could go into the next year as well. It also is about the Indian markets, where we are looking at strong institutional and investment buying as well. Interestingly, India actually is trading at a discount right now because of the very high volatile prices that we already have seen. Now, this is what we've done in last 3 years in sense of gold prices. Last year was 76,000. We're already trading at around 1,34,000, 35,000 right now. While that is for gold, this is silver for you. Last year was 87,000. We've crossed 2,10,000 in the day-to-day. So very, very strong gains continuing, and the expectation that next year is going to be no difficult. That is various global banks and brokerages telling you that $4,000 to $5,000 an ounce of a range is what you could be looking at in case of gold. So whether it is about Citi, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, all of them do believe that $5,000 an ounce in next year is a probability. And most of them have talked about higher prices in 27, 28 and 2029 as well. Let's take a look at silver quickly and where those prices could go. Well, silver in this year started with $29. It's trading at $70 an ounce. I mean, that is the kind of run-up that we have seen. And most of these banks and brokerages believe that it's going to be a range that you will see in silver next year. So 55 on the lower side and $85 an ounce on the higher side could perhaps be a range going forward as well.
All right, Manisha, many thanks for joining us. That's the commodity market outlook for you. But the big news maker this evening, Umesh Revankar, the Executive Vice Chairman of Shriram Finance, spoke to CNBC-TV18 after sealing a $4 billion deal with Japan's Mitsubishi Finance. This is the largest foreign investment into India's financial sector to date. Revankar said the company spoke to multiple parties but finalized on MUFG as they do have a significant experience within the region, and the deal gives the company, in his words, a 100-year runway as opposed to a short-term view. Revankar also expects cost of funds to reduced by 100 basis points over the next 2 years, adding that talks with Mitsubishi Finance are limited to the 20% stake as of now, ruled out any plans to apply for a bank license. Take a look.
We were talking to multiple people. It is not that it's just one team or one organization we were talking to, but we were looking at the appropriateness because being a lender here in India for nearly 50 years, we wanted an organization which has an international reputation and who have experience of being a partner in various other countries.
Let's talk about the 20% stake. And there is a lot of speculation that they could perhaps look at eventually going beyond 20%. Has that been a discussion, a conversation that you've had with them? Are they interested?
See, the conversation can go on from 5% to more. So there has been a repeated discussion on how much to invest and what should be the long-term plan. Right now, we are sticking to 20. And probably with experience what they gain of the investment, then we may take a call. But right now, there's no talk of anything about going about 20%.
Is this a precursor to an eventual bank license? Is that the plan? Is that the aspiration? Is that the ambition?
My constituency is different. I want to be in retail lending. I want to service the customers who are underbanked and unbanked.
But what about MUFG? Does that, does the ambition change with MUFG coming in?
So that is something which we need to discuss over the period. I don't think this is the time to discuss about it. And a banking vehicle is totally different. And your constituency is totally different. When you become a bank, you need to be prepared for multiple services. You can't be just lending services. Right now, being a focused lending company to the self-employed and small enterprises, SMEs, we are focused on that.
What's been the biggest challenge of getting this deal done?
See, I have been discussing with multiple investors or multiple organizations in the last 1.5 years, because we were reaching 20% of capital adequacy, we were looking at the next 5 years or 10 years. And when I was looking at, I thought if I get a big international partner, I can look for 100 years. So when I say 100 years, a good partner like MUFG Bank, who if they are interested in India, then I can definitely think of a much larger story. So that's how I looked at. So 20% is a huge support, and that gives me a long runway.
Well, that's the big deal, MUFG and Shriram Finance. Now, India and New Zealand have concluded FTA talks and aim to double bilateral trade in the next 5 years. The pact is expected to be signed in about 3 months. It will give zero-duty access to all of India's exports in New Zealand. In return, India will offer New Zealand duty-free or reduced duty access on about 70% of its tariff lines, covering roughly 95% of current bilateral trade. Furniture, wood products, kiwis, apples, coking coal and metal scrap are likely to become cheaper in India. However, sensitive items like dairy, coffee, onions, sugar, spices, edible oils and rubber have been kept out of the deal to protect domestic producers. Well, here's the Commerce Minister.
It's also our third FTA with a Five Eyes nation, Australia, UK and now New Zealand. We are soon going to launch discussions for the terms of reference with Canada also. And we are already at an advanced stage in our discussions with the USA. See tremendous potential for doubling this trade in the next 5 years.
India and New Zealand have announced the conclusion of negotiations for a free trade agreement. Both the countries aim to sign a trade pact in the next 2 to 3 months and double trade from the current $2.4 billion in 2024. India and the European Union are also in talks for a free trade agreement, which are currently at an advanced stage. Both the sides are looking to conclude it at the earliest. Now, India's FTAs with Mauritius, Australia, UAE and the EFTA bloc have already been operationalized, and Oman's FTA is likely to be operationalized in the next 3 months. The FTA with the UK is expected to be ratified next year. The 7 FTAs which have been concluded by India in the recent past aim to mitigate the adverse impact of US tariffs and geopolitical uncertainty. Now, the bilateral trade with FTA partners Australia, UAE, Mauritius and the EFTA bloc collectively is around $150 billion, and India is aiming to increase its bilateral trade and also its exports, particularly of labor-intensive products, as far as reaching more and more geographies is concerned.
Many thanks. India-based H-1B visa holders who returned home to renew their US work permits are now stranded. This after the US consular offices abruptly rescheduled their visa appointments. Now, the US State Department told the applicants that interviews were being delayed due to the Trump administration's new social media vetting policy aimed at ensuring that no applicant poses a threat to the US national security or public safety. Shilpa standing by with the details. Shilpa, take us through what has happened here and how are people coping with this? They virtually have no choice.
Well, you're absolutely right there. You know, what was meant to be a routine trip home for a visa renewal has turned into months of uncertainty for thousands of Indian professionals working in the United States. Now, many travel to India for the H-1B and H-4 visa renewal stamping with interviews that were scheduled between December and February. But those appointments have now abruptly been pushed back, some to 2026, others as far as mid-2027. Now, for H-1B visa holders, the consequences here are serious because if their visa stamp expire while they're still in India, they cannot return to the US until the interview happens, and that has triggered fears of job losses and immigration status risk. Many are now scrambling for solutions from their employers or even applying for emergency appointments. Now, this disruption came after the US Department of State extended the mandatory social media vetting to employment-based visas also from the 15th of December. Now, to manage these expanded checks, consulates have cut interview capacity, and that has triggered mass rescheduling and long delays. Now, the US Embassy told CNBC-TV18 that in every visa case, the consular officers will take time needed to ensure that the applicants pose no risk to US safety or security and are credibly established their eligibility. Now, the fallout has forced companies also to step in. Big tech firms including Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple have advised employees to avoid international travel if a visa stamp is required, and they've asked those already abroad to return immediately before their visa stamp expires. Now, Microsoft has warned that emergency appointments for those already abroad are highly unlikely, while Amazon has cautioned that last-minute cancellations could leave employees stuck without the ability to work. Now, these companies, remember, are among the largest H-1B employers with a significant share of their workforce on this visa. Now, immigration lawyers are also urging caution, warning that many employers cannot allow these professionals to work legally remotely from India because of tax, payroll and export control rules. They also add that a job loss while being stuck abroad could mean applying afresh for an H-1B visa, which will trigger the $100,000 fee that has been recently come in, and that most companies are unlikely to bear this cost. Emergency appointments do exist, but approvals remain rare, and lawyers say there is no indication yet of fresh interview slots. Now, for now, relief may be months away, and that has turned what was meant to be a routine visa process into an open-ended wait, giving careers and families, leaving all of them in balance. Back to you.
Well, yes, it is an uncertain time. Many thanks, Shilpa, for joining us and staying with news related to the India and the US. Kirit Bhansali, the chairman of India's Gems and Jewellery Export Promotion Council, claims that Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has indicated the possibility of India and the US signing a framework trade deal in the first week of 2026, but the ministry hasn't acknowledged that when asked. Take a look.
Yesterday I met our Commerce Minister also, and he has given me hopes that first week of January you will get a good news. So it's not UAE number one. We have seen about 30% growth in current year also. Britain we are hoping good. New Zealand, Australia also we are hoping good. And of course this UK and Oman.
Well, that is the hope that we could see a closure of the India-US agreement to deal with reciprocal tariffs. Perhaps, as Mr. Bhansali was pointing out, in the first week of January. We have no official confirmation from the government so far. Up next, the union government dismisses ecological concerns over the new definition of the Aravalli Hills based on a 100-metre elevation threshold. The Environment Minister says the Supreme Court's order has been misinterpreted. That and more when we return. The union government has rejected concerns that the new definition of the Aravalli Hills based on a 100-metre elevation weakens environmental protection. Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav said the Supreme Court's order has been misinterpreted after it sparked protests across North India. Activists and farmers have alleged that the new definition would proliferate mining and construction activities, also fearing that this would accelerate desertification of the region. The government clarified that mining is allowed only in less than 2% of the Aravalli Hills. Here's more on the Aravalli Flashpoint.
अरावली बचाओ देश बचाओ देश बचाओ देश बचाओ
माननीय न्यायालय का जो फैसला आया अरावली के खिलाफ उसका हम विरोध करते हैं। अरावली न कोई राजस्थान की बाकी पूरे देश की दिलों की धड़कन है। मैं समझता हूँ हमारी आत्मा हमारी माँ के समान है। अरावली के साथ छेड़खानी हम नहीं होने देंगे।
जो भी आदेश दिया उसको वापस लिया जाए और जो अरावली पहाड़ है ये हमारी रीढ़ की हड्डी है। इसी से हमारा पालन पोषण भी होता है, पशुओं का भी चारा होता है, जो भी कुछ होता है जो हमारा यहीं से होता है।
कुछ नहीं बचने वाला है, सारी बायोडाइवर्सिटी जाएगी, सारे जानवर मरेंगे, सारे बर्ड्स मरेंगे। तो प्लीज मैं एक साइंस के स्टूडेंट होने के नाते कहना चाहती हूँ कि ये गलत है।
बीजेपी की सरकार की कमेटी की रिपोर्ट के आधार पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने फैसला दिया है और जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने फैसला दिया है वो फैसला गलत है। उस फैसले को हम स्वीकार नहीं करते। अरावली के मुद्दे पर पूरा राजस्थान एक है।
भारी विरोध करते हुए इस विरोध को जारी रखेंगे और जब तक इसके रिवीजन पिटीशन दायर होती है जब तक हम विरोध जारी रहेगा।
राज्य उदयपुर की सौंदर्यता है जिस कारण यहाँ पे पर्यटन आ रहे हैं, जो सौंदर्य है वह इस अरावली के कारण है। अरावली के कारण मेवाड़ है और इसका संरक्षण बहुत जरूरी है। इस संबंध में हम ज्ञापन दे रहे हैं कि सरकार रिव्यू पिटीशन फाइल करे।
Well, protests are across large parts of North India. Now, the Supreme Court's decision to strike down electoral bonds failing to make a dent to political funding. The Election Commission has released all political donations made by individuals and corporations in the last financial year before the Lok Sabha elections were held. The BJP mopping up more than 6,000 crore rupees with a 50% surge in funding before the Lok Sabha elections. The Congress a distant second with over 500 crores. The Tata Group has emerged as the largest funder of political parties. Santhya standing by with the details. Santhya, over 6,000 crore rupees going to the BJP. Who's funding whom and by how much?
So, Shireen, India's political donation routes and methods may have changed, but the outcome remains the same. The BJP continues to be the single largest beneficiary of political funding. Contribution reports released by the Election Commission of India on Friday showed that the BJP received 6,088 crore rupees in donations. Overall, around 7,000 crore rupees were donated to political parties. While the overall amount of political funding has remained largely unchanged, the BJP's share has risen sharply from 56% in 2023-24 to 85% in 2024-25. In contrast, the Indian National Congress received just 522 crore rupees, down from 1,130 crore rupees in 2023-24. Among other parties, DMK received 365 crore rupees, TMC received 184 crore rupees, YSR Congress Party received 140 crore rupees, TDP received 83 crore rupees, BJD 60 crore rupees, and the Aam Aadmi Party received just 38 crore rupees. The Supreme Court scrapped the electoral bond scheme in February last year. Since then, donors, largely corporate groups, have routed contributions through electoral trust. Tata Group, Larsen & Toubro and Megha Engineering were among the top donors. The Tata Group emerged as the largest individual donor to the BJP, contributing 757 crore rupees. Larsen & Toubro donated 500 crore rupees, while Megha Engineering and its promoter together contributed 320 crore rupees. The largest donor trust was Prudent Electoral Trust, traditionally the BJP's biggest funding source. It donated 2,181 crore rupees to the BJP and 216 crore rupees to the Congress. Other than L&T linked Elevated Avenue Reality, companies linked to the RP Sanjeev Goenka Group and the Hinduja Group donated 144 crore rupees and over 177 crore rupees respectively. The Naveen Jindal faction of the OP Jindal Group donated 107 crore rupees. The DLF Group donated 100 crore rupees and the Torrent Group contributed over 98 crore rupees. The Progressive Electoral Trust controlled by the Tata Group donated 757 crore rupees to the BJP and 77 crore rupees to the Congress. The Mahindra Group routed its donation through the New Democratic Electoral Trust. It donated 150 crore rupees to the BJP, 5 crore rupees to the Congress and 5 crore rupees to the Uddhav Thackeray's Sena. The Serum Institute of India donated 100 crore rupees to the BJP. The Bajaj Group donated 74 crore rupees. ITC contributed 72 crore rupees. Hero Enterprise donated 70 crore rupees. Shireen.
All right, Sante, many thanks for joining us. So the BJP once again mopping up the largest chunk, the lion's share there in political funding. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue here on CNBC TV 18. Stay tuned. We're back in a minute with more.